Part 1. A fire on New Braunfels Avenue. In 1935, on a quiet stretch of road in San Antonio's Eastside neighborhood of South New Braunfels Avenue, a 5-foot wooden cross was planted into the lawn of one of the most powerful black men in Texas. Under cover of darkness, the cross was soaked in fuel and set on fire. The message was unmistakable. This was no random act of hatred. This was intimidation. The home belonged to Charles Bellinger, businessman, political broker, and the man many in San Antonio called the Black Mayor, though he never held public office. The Ku Klux Klan, newly resurgent across the United States in the 1920s and early 1930s, understood exactly who they were targeting. According to contemporary reporting in black newspapers, the cross was burned while Bellinger was away at work. When asked to respond, he did not apologize, retreat, or soften his presence in the city. Instead, Bellinger issued a short, defiant statement to the press. "I have been in business in San Antonio for 30 years, and I intend to remain." The cross on Bellinger's lawn was not just an attack on a man. It was an attack on a system of black economic independence and political leverage that he had spent decades building. A system that had forced the city of San Antonio to invest in its black neighborhoods in ways that few American cities did during the height of Jim Crow. To understand why the Klan felt threatened enough to burn a cross on his property, we must first understand how Charles Bellinger has traditionally been remembered, and why that version of his story is incomplete. Part 2. The Standard Story. The Political Boss. For decades, Charles Bellinger has appeared in headlines under a familiar label: Political Boss. In this telling, Bellinger was a shadowy figure who operated behind the scenes, trading votes for favors, using gambling profits, votes in exchange for favors, and networks to influence the outcome of local elections. He is often compared to the political machine bosses of the urban North, men who delivered disciplined blocks of voters in exchange for government contracts, jobs, and protection. Bellinger entered local politics around 1918 when he backed John W. Tobin for sheriff and later for mayor of San Antonio. Tobin won. Later, Bellinger threw his support behind Charles Kennan Quinn and other members of the Quinn political family, again delivering critical votes from San Antonio's black precincts. In return, these officials did what politicians everywhere did when machines delivered elections. They rewarded loyalty. Historians long emphasized this transactional aspect of Bellinger's power. White reformers in San Antonio condemned him as corrupt. Some black critics argued that his alliances with white politicians represented accommodation rather than resistance. Newspapers hostile to machine politics portrayed him as dangerous, immoral, and excessively wealthy. This framing, Bellinger as boss, manipulator, and gambler, has dominated public memory. Even today, modern articles often describe him first as a political boss before mentioning anything else. But focusing only on political maneuvering obscures the material reality of what Bellinger actually built, and why thousands of black San Antonians supported him so fiercely, even in the face of intimidation and violence. Part 3. Philanthropy and Prosperity. Charles Bellinger's story does not begin in San Antonio politics. It begins in fear. Born in 1875, Bellinger was the grandson of Edmund Bellinger, a white slaveholder who is believed to have owned Charles's father, Theodore Bellinger. Charles was born into a world still shaped by slavery's violence and hierarchies, even after emancipation. In 1902, Bellinger made a decision that would change his life. That year, a black man named Nathan Bird was lynched in Caldwell County, Texas. The murder sent a clear message to black families in rural Texas. Existing could be fatal. At the time, Charles Bellinger had his wife and son, 3-year-old Valmo, to think of. Rather than risk raising his family in a place where mob violence could strike without consequence, Bellinger fled Caldwell County. This decision, migration for survival, mirrors the choices made by countless black families during the early 20th century. Bellinger first relocated to Lockhart, Texas, where he worked in a saloon owned by Jeff Howard. There, he learned the mechanics of the liquor business, gambling, and customer networks. Some evidence suggests that he also established relationships with figures connected to the Pearl Brewing Company, which later provided him with crucial business loans. By 1906, Bellinger had arrived in San Antonio and opened his own saloon. This was not simply a saloon, it was the foundation of his expanding economic empire. Over the next 2 decades, Bellinger systematically diversified his holdings. He owned a pool hall, a cafe, a barbershop, a real estate and construction company, a cab company, later known as Bellinger Auto Livery, a theater, a private lending operation for African Americans who were often excluded from white banks, a lottery operation, and a bootlegging enterprise during Prohibition Commissioner meeting. Minutes from the 1920s record repeated interactions between Bellinger and city officials, not as a criminal suspect, but as a major property owner and taxpayer. He also funded the Black Aces, a black baseball team that provided recreation, employment, and visibility, at a time when segregation excluded African Americans from white leagues. This is the version of Bellinger often left out of the story. Not just a political broker, but a builder of businesses, housing, jobs, and financial access in a city that systematically denied those things to black residents. Part 4. Power, Backlash, and Suppression. By the early 1920s, Charles Bellinger's influence had become impossible to ignore. His businesses were thriving. His son attended Harvard University. His home on South New Braunfels Avenue rivaled the mansions of white elites. And perhaps most threatening of all, black voters in San Antonio were organized. Bellinger's political operation did not rely on coercion. It relied on unity. Through churches, businesses, and neighborhood networks, he helped turn black voters into a disciplined bloc, one that was capable of deciding elections. The response from the state of Texas was swift and revealing. In 1923, the Texas legislature passed Article 3107 of the revised civil statutes, mandating the white primary. The law declared that, in no event shall a Negro be eligible to participate in a Democratic primary election. Any ballot cast by a black voter would be void. This was not an abstract policy choice. It was a direct reaction to black political power in cities like San Antonio. Bellinger and others had demonstrated that black votes mattered. The white primary was designed to erase that leverage. Although the Supreme Court struck down the law in Nixon versus Herndon in 1927, the damage was done. The message was clear. Black political success would be met with repression. Outside the legislature, intimidation took a more violent form. During the 1920s and 1930s, the Ku Klux Klan experienced a nationwide revival. San Antonio was no exception. The Klan published newspapers, held rallies, and targeted individuals who challenged white supremacy. In 1935, a burning cross appeared on Charles Bellinger's lawn. This act was symbolic, but its intent was deadly serious. It warned Bellinger and the Eastside that economic independence and political organization would not be tolerated without consequences. Yet Bellinger remained. Part 5. The Fall and Sacrifice. A year later, Charles Bellinger was arrested and convicted for failure to pay income taxes. He was sentenced to federal prison at Leavenworth Penitentiary, the same tactic used against other powerful figures of the era, including Al Capone. There is no evidence that Bellinger was convicted for violence, voter fraud, or racketeering. Like many political bosses, he was taken down through financial charges, a legal tool that carried moral weight while sidestemming political complexity. Within months, prominent San Antonio leaders petitioned for his release. President Franklin D. Roosevelt granted parole, citing Bellinger's failing health. He was allowed to return home and died shortly afterward on June 14th, 1937. The cost of his life was immense. He endured threats, vilification, and the destruction of his reputation. And yet, the infrastructure he fought for has remained. Part 6. What he left behind. When history today mostly focuses only on Charles Bellinger's reputation as a political boss, they miss the most important question. What changed because he existed? Under Bellinger's influence, San Antonio's East Side received paved streets, sewer lines, street lighting, recreational facilities, and a branch library that evolved into the Carver Community Cultural Center. These investments raised life expectancy and quality of life in black neighborhoods, often surpassing conditions in other marginalized areas of the city. This occurred during one of the most hostile racial climates in American history, as the Ku Klux Klan gained strength nationwide and black political rights came under attack. Bellinger created something rare, a zone of relative safety, prosperity, and political leverage for black San Antonians. He did so at enormous personal cost. Today, his legacy remains contested. The label of dirty money and political boss still shadows his name. But beneath that label lies a more complicated truth. Charles Bellinger was not simply a boss. He was a benefactor who paid dearly for benefiting his people. And the city of San Antonio still lives with the results.